for their child now. Meghan as well, in interviews previously, has talked about how having a family was always part of her bucket list, and how having a family would be a chance to be more grounded. Even at their engagement interview, they were being asked about whether or not they were going to be parents, and Harry at the time joked saying, well, not just yet, but at some point. And today, at 5 o'clock this morning, they finally welcomed their first son.
And Rhiannon, it was only a year ago, of course, that we were all stood there where you are in Windsor, enjoying the wedding and the beautiful day that they had when they got married. It wasn't long after that the pregnancy was announced, was it? And it was on the Royal Tour, you were with them. It's just been such a whirlwind year for them, hasn't it?
It has, and I think, to be honest, it's only to be expected, really. They had quite this whirlwind romance, really. 18 months together, then they got engaged, then got married. And I think as a couple you can see how close they've been. You can.
Yes, I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension, but we're both absolutely thrilled and so grateful to all the love and support for everybody out there, from everybody out there. It's been amazing, so we just wanted to share this with everybody.
And what about names? Are you still thinking about names?
Still thinking about names, Alan. It's yeah, the baby's a little bit overdue, so we've had a little bit of time to think about it, but yeah, we're still. That's the next bit. But for us, I think we'll be seeing you guys in probably 2 days' time, as planned, as a family, to be able to share it with you guys, and so everyone can see the baby.
Well, you can't stop smiling. It must have been. I mean, that's just, every birth is amazing, but for your own child, it must be. Oh.
I haven't been at many births. This is definitely my first birth. It was amazing, absolutely incredible. And as I said, I'm so incredibly proud of my wife. And as every father and parent would ever say, you know, your baby is absolutely amazing, but this little thing is absolutely to die for. So I'm just over the moon. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
They were getting older, and I think it was time for them to settle down and have their first child. Of course, their priorities will change now. We've seen that they've really wanted to show that on the world stage they can get out there, they can make a difference. Now, family life is going to be a big priority for them as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that changes the dynamic when it comes to them both being hard-working royals, but also when it comes to travelling the world. Most recently, we've had those stories, that speculation that they could potentially move abroad, move overseas, both to live and work. I have to say, when I spoke to the palace about that, they have said that maybe that's probably not entirely practical when you're bringing a newborn into the world. But certainly they have this enormous international interest in getting their message out there when it comes to charity work, when it comes to those issues around equality and empowerment. And I think that is also worth pointing out. They're now bringing up a little boy, but whether it had been a little boy or a little girl, I think they were always going to be doting parents. This was always going to be about raising their child equally. Meghan, on International Women's Day, talked about feeling the embryonic kicking of feminism. So I think that is the kind of child, the kind of world that they want to bring this child up in. They want to, again, address those issues around diversity, inclusivity, talk about the more official titles that this child may be entitled to. The little boy will now be 7th in line to the throne, which means there's no big kind of constitutional change as a result of the arrival of this little boy, apart from a few people get bumped down that order of succession. Also, at the moment, we don't know whether or not this child will have any specific title. So, as well as us waiting to find out what the baby's name is going to be, we're also still, in some ways, waiting to find out what the title of the little boy is going to be. We know that the baby isn't automatically entitled to become a prince or princess. This is all laid down in a letters patent that was put down by King George V back in 1917. Means that only the grandchildren of the Queen and the son of the heir to the throne are allowed to have those titles of HRH. So what it would mean is that for this child to become a prince, it would mean that the Queen would have to step in and issue a letters patent. Also, there are other titles that the child could take on. So, for example, they could have a lesser title from Prince Harry. So we could see this child being called Earl of Dumbarton. But I think, to be honest, most of us are probably waiting to find out exactly what the little boy's name is going to be.